of his boss, John Grettenberger, the president of the Cadillac Motors division, whom I know from Palm Beach. Cadillac, it turns out, is interested in cooperating in the production of a new super stretch limousine that would be named the Trump Golden Series. I like the idea. We set a date to sit down and talk in 2 weeks. 4 p.m., Daniel Lee, a casino analyst for Drexel Burnham Lambert, stops by with several of his colleagues to discuss being my investment bankers on a deal to purchase a hotel company. Michael Milken, the guy who invented junk bond financing at Drexel, has called me regularly for the last several years to try to get me to bring my business to Drexel. I have no idea that Drexel is about to get enmeshed in the insider trading scandal that will soon rock Wall Street. In any case, I happen to think Mike's a brilliant guy. However, Alan Greenberg is exceptional himself, and I'm loyal to people who've done good work for me. I hear Lee and his guys out on their deal, but in truth, it doesn't excite me much. We leave it that I'll get back to them. 5 p.m., Larry Csonka, former running back for the Miami Dolphins, calls. He has an idea for keeping the USFL alive. He wants to merge it with the Canadian Football League. Larry's both a bright and a nice guy, and he's very enthusiastic, but he doesn't convince me. If the USFL couldn't get off the ground with players like Herschel Walker and Jim Kelly, how is Canadian football, with a lot of players nobody has heard of, going to help? We've got to win in the courts first to break up the NFL monopoly. 5:30 p.m., I call Calvin Klein, the designer, to congratulate him. Back when Trump Tower first opened, Klein took a full floor of offices for his new perfume line, Obsession. It did so well that within a year, he expanded to a second floor. Now he's doing better than ever, and so he's taken over a third floor. I have a lot of admiration for Calvin, and I tell him so. He's a very talented designer, but he's also a very good salesman and businessman. And it's the combination of those qualities that makes him so successful. 6 p.m. I draft a letter to Paul Goldberger, architecture critic of the New York Times. A week ago in a Sunday column, Goldberger gave a great review to the design of Battery Park City, the new development in Lower Manhattan. He also called it a stunning contrast to what he claimed we're doing with the Television City project at the West Side Yards. In other words, he killed us. There's just one catch. We're in the middle of designing our project with new architects and concepts, and nobody, including Goldberger, has seen our new plan. He was knocking a design he hadn't even looked at yet. Dear Paul, I write, your recent article is an obvious setup in preparation for the negative review you intend to do on Television City, no matter how great it is. Just think, if you are negative enough, which I'm sure you will be, you might even help convince NBC to move to New Jersey. My people keep telling me I shouldn't write letters like this to critics. The way I see it, critics get to say what they want to about my work, so why shouldn't I be able to say what I want to about theirs? Wednesday, 9 a.m. I go with Ivana to look at a private school for my daughter. If you had told me 5 years ago that I'd be spending mornings looking at kindergarten classrooms, I would have laughed. 11 a.m., I have a press conference for the Wollman Rink. When I get there, I'm amazed. There are at least 20 reporters and photographers milling around. Henry Stern, the parks commissioner, goes to the microphone first, and he is very complimentary to me. He says that if the city had tried to undertake the current renovation by itself, we would now be awaiting Board of Estimate approval for what Donald Trump has already done. When it's my turn, I explain that we've laid 22 miles of pipes, that they've all been thoroughly tested and there are no leaks, that the project is ahead of schedule by at least a month and under budget by about $400,000. I also announced that we've set a grand opening for November 13th and that we have a show planned for that day, which will include most of the world's great skaters. After I finish, the reporters ask a million questions. Finally, Henry and I step down into the rink. If we can't have a real concrete pouring, at least we'll have a ceremonial one. A couple of workmen pull over a wheelbarrow full of wet concrete and point it down toward us. Henry and I shovel some concrete onto the pipes while the photographers click away. As many times as I've done these things, I have to say I still find them a little ridiculous. Think of it. A couple of guys in pinstripe suits shoveling wet concrete. But I like to be accommodating. As long as they want to shoot, I'll shovel. 12:45 p.m. The minute I get back to my office, I start returning calls. I want to get as much done as I can now because I have to leave early for Trenton to attend a retirement dinner for a member of the New Jersey Casino Control Commission. The first person I call back is Arthur Barron, the president of Gulf and Western's Entertainment Group, which includes Paramount Pictures. Martin Davis, the chairman of G&W, has been my friend for a long time, and Barron apparently called in response to a letter I wrote to Marty 2 weeks ago. In the letter, I explained to Marty that I'd recently purchased a fantastic site and was in the midst of designing a building with 8 motion picture theaters at its base. And I wondered if he might be interested in making a deal for them. As you are aware, I wrote, there is no one I would rather do business with than Marty Davis. That happened to be true, for Martin Davis is a truly talented man, but there are also a dozen other companies who would kill to have 8 theaters in a top location. In other words, if I can't make a deal I like with Marty, I've got a lot of other options. As I anticipated, when I get Art Barron on the phone, he wants to set up a meeting to discuss the theaters. We make a date for the following week. 1:30 p.m. I return a call from Arthur Sonnenblick, one of the city's leading brokers. 3 weeks ago, Arthur called to say he had some foreign clients who were interested in buying the West Side Yards. He wouldn't tell me their names, but he said they were serious people, and they were prepared to make me a very substantial offer for the site, far more than the $100 million I paid a year ago. I didn't get too excited. On the contrary, I say to Arthur, the bid sounds low. If you can get them higher, I might be interested. Now Arthur's calling to give me a status report. The truth is, I really don't want to sell the yards at any price. To me, those 100 acres overlooking the Hudson River are the best undeveloped real estate site in the world. On the other hand, I don't want to rule out anything. Arthur tells me his clients are still very interested, that they may come up a little, but he doubts they'll go much higher. Keep pushing, I tell him. 2 p.m. The contractor who's building my pool at Mar-a-Lago is on the phone. I'm busy, but I take the call anyway. We're going to great lengths to build a pool in keeping with the original design of the house, and I want to make sure every detail is right. Buying Mar-a-Lago was a great deal, even though I bought it to live in, not as a real estate investment. Mar-a-Lago was built in the early 1920s by Marjorie Merriweather Post, the heiress to the Post cereal fortune, and at the time, Mrs. Edward F. Hutton. Set on 20 acres that face both the Atlantic Ocean and Lake Worth, the house took 4 years to build and has 118 rooms. 3 boatloads of Dorian stone were brought from Italy for the exterior walls, and 36,000 Spanish tiles dating back to the 15th century were used on the exterior and the interior. When Mrs. Post died, she gave the house to the federal government for use as a presidential retreat. The government eventually gave the house back to the Post Foundation, and the foundation put it up for sale at an asking price of $25 million.